Greetings, RSU57 families. We hope this communication finds you and your family in good health. What unprecedented times these are for all of us. 4 weeks ago, we suspect most of us never would have imagined the circumstances we found ourselves in, and yet, here we are. On behalf of our teachers and principals, we would like to share our heartfelt gratitude for supporting our continuous learning efforts at home. We recognize the balance of work, home, and school looks more like a juggle these days. We commend you. We are making every effort to establish and support daily routines for your children. Maintaining daily connections with your children is our highest priority. It is through these connections that we are offering continuous learning opportunities to help students grow in their learning and remain engaged with all content areas. Teachers continue to be available for daily contact, instruction, and extra help through Seesaw or Google Classroom, as well as scheduled Zoom availability and email as usual. Initially, we had planned for a couple of weeks of remote learning. More recently, it has become clear that our planning will need to sustain this remote learning mode for many weeks to come. We are working to ensure balance in learning expectations for their longer term. At home, this will look a little bit different depending on your child's grade level. This is what you should expect. Grades K through 5. Daily engagement and communication with your homeroom teacher. Estimated 3 hours of district grade level learning content expectations. New, beginning Monday, April 6th, in your child's Seesaw or Google Classroom environment, you will see a learning menu which will guide consistent learning activities at each grade level for the week. A new learning menu will be posted prior to the start of each week. Here is a brief video demonstrating how learning menus will look in your child's Seesaw or Google Classroom environment.
If your student is using Seesaw as their learning platform, when they have logged in, they will first initially see the journal stream as you see it here. Your student will probably see a lot more items within their journal stream, but for this demonstration, we are just using a distance learning demo Seesaw site. So your child's may look a little bit different. But once they are here, in order to access the menu boards, they are going to want to click on the Activities tab that is denoted by the light bulb over here in the middle between Journal and Inbox. Once they have clicked on that, they will be able to see any of the activities here that their teacher has assigned to them. For this example, we are going to be looking at a kindergarten learning menu board. Here you will see that it says Week 1 menu board, and just below that, you will see instructions from your teacher. For this example, we have used some generic instruction terms, but your teacher may give you something more specific here. So please be sure to go over these instructions with your students so they have a clear understanding of what is expected of them. From here, if I click on the link thumbnail where you can see the picture of the learning menu board, you will see that it pops open into a new screen. This screen will need to be clicked on again, and it will pop your student out into Safari. Unfortunately, that means that when your student is working on their learning menus, they're going to need to toggle between Safari and Seesaw itself. I will show you how to accomplish this in just a moment. Once your student is here, these 9 boxes are clickable, so your student can click on whichever content area they are working on that day. For this demonstration, we are going to click on the Math and STEM box that is in the bottom right-hand corner. Once I do that, you are going to see that the learning menu for Math and STEM pops up. Your student will be able to zoom in and zoom out by using 2 fingers to use the pinching motion so that they can more clearly read what is assigned to them. For this example, we're going to take a look at box number 1. This says count to 100 by 1s, 5s, and 10s. There is a challenge there also. And at the bottom, it says record yourself counting on Seesaw. This will be the evidence that your student needs to provide that they have completed this activity. So to do this, and to go back over into Seesaw, I am going to double click the home or the circle button on my iPad. When I do that, it's going to show me any app that I have open on my iPad. So you can see I have the App Store, Safari, and Seesaw open. I'm going to click back on Seesaw. I have already looked at my learning menu choices, so I'm going to click the X in the top left-hand corner here. When I do that, I will be able to then look at the instructions that my teacher has given me, and I'll be able to add a response. The instructions that are given here say, pick 1 to 3 item menus per day. If the activity asks you to show your evidence, like add a picture, record, etc., you will need to add response. Add or edit the slides in the template to show me your evidence, which I will show you what that means here in just a minute. Number 4 says to turn it in, green check so that I can see it. Number 5 says be sure to check back each day and add your evidence to the same slides and template, which I will show you how to do that once we have completed the first activity. And number 6 says have fun. So your student is going to want to add a response when given the opportunity to show their evidence. So I'm going to click on that large green add response button. From here, you're going to see that the teacher has already provided some basic slides and information. It says, show your evidence here by adding a slide with the title of the content area and box number from the menu board. Example, literacy number 1. And then down below it says, click to add a new slide here. I can see along the right-hand side of my screen that there are already 2 slides. So the teacher has provided a second slide, which says STEM number 5. We were just looking at the STEM and math box, number 1. So if I tap into that box twice, it's going to allow your student to customize or to edit what's already here. So I'm just going to change this to number 1 so that my teacher knows that the evidence that I am showing here is STEM box number 1. If your student is unsure of what they were supposed to do, they can always review the instructions. In the top middle section of their screen, it says View Instructions. When I click on that, I'll be able to see my teacher's instructions. If they need to look at that learning menu link again, they can simply click on their home button 2 times, and they can go back into Safari to review what board number 1 said again. So for this example, again, we are counting to 100 by 1s, 5s, and 10s. So I'm going to double click on my home button and tap back into Seesaw. So from here, your student has multiple options available to them to show their evidence. The first one is to add a text box. So when I tap on the T on the left-hand side of my screen, I will be able to add text here. So if I wanted to type in my 10s here, counting to 100, I could simply do that by typing in 10, 20, 30, etc. If I don't want that box, I can simply just tap back onto the blank screen and it will go away. Below the T, your student will have the option to record by tapping on the microphone. Your student can record and write at the same time. So if at the bottom, if they tap on one of these writing utensils below, they will have the option to write on this blank whiteboard and record at the same time. So their teacher can see them writing and talking in real time. For this example, we are just going to write as I am already recording. So I'm going to write my 10s to 100 for my evidence here. Once I am done, there are a couple of options that I have. Now, I have written slightly smaller. If your student is writing larger, there's a couple of ways that they can accomplish writing their entire piece of evidence without having to erase the entire board by clicking on the eraser and then going through and trying to erase everything while they are recording. They can simply just click on this box below and add a new slide. They can add a new slide while recording as well. So if they use this first slide to count by 10s, then maybe their second slide will be to count by 5s. And then they can simply add another slide again while recording and count by their 1s. Unless the teacher gives very specific instructions on how they want this done, your student has the option to do a few things. Your student can also add in a picture here that is just below the microphone where they can see the camera. If they decided that they wanted to physically write this out on a piece of notebook paper or a whiteboard at home and do it that way, they could add that image right into this slide here as well. The other option that they have here are the 3 dots. If I click on this here, your student can add in shapes and change the background to their slide. Again, this is only going to be necessary if their teacher is specific in how they want the evidence to be shown. Once your student has completed their evidence, all they need to do from here is to simply tap on the green check in the top right-hand corner of their screen. This will upload to the teacher automatically. So the teacher will be able to see your student's evidence instantaneously and then be able to approve it. Right now you can see that it says waiting for teacher approval. This just means that your teacher will have a notification that your student has completed it and they can check their work and comment back on it. Now that I have gone through and shown evidence on one item, there may be multiple items per day or multiple items per week that your student is going to respond to within this same activity. So once I have green checked that activity or evidence that I just completed, I'm actually in my journal stream now. I need to click back over into my activities. You're going to see now that I can no longer see that initial activities board or menu board that I saw before because I am still in my waiting for a response. If you see right below my activities light bulb button, I have these that are waiting for a response, which means as a student, I haven't yet responded to these items, but I have already responded to that learning menu board. So if I click on class activities just below waiting for a response, I will be able to see all of the activities here. And then I can click on respond again instead of add response. This will allow me to click back into that same activity and I can add in a different response. You aren't going to see the response that I just did because the teacher hasn't approved it yet. But if your teacher has already approved the response and the evidence that you had created from earlier, you will be able to see that here, and then I'll be able to create new slides below that original response that I had already created. We suggest that your student not delete any of the prior evidence that they have shown their teacher, as it's great for a portfolio and for learning data to show the teacher how your student has grown and what they've worked on this week. I hope that helps, and please, if you have any questions as far as tech support goes, please reach out to remotehelp@rsu57.org. If your student is using Google Classroom as their learning platform, they will see all of their classrooms on their very first screen, as you see here. Again, we are using a demo email, so you're going to see that the classrooms here are very different from what your child will probably see. In this case, I'm going to use the distance learning Google Classroom. Your teacher will obviously let you know which classroom they will be posting the menu boards in if they have multiple classrooms. So I'm going to enter into distance learning. When your student first enters in their Google Classroom, they're going to see a stream. The stream shows your student all of the information that the teachers have posted to their Google Classroom. Again, in this case, as it was in Seesaw, you are only going to see that there is one thing. Obviously, in your student's classroom, there will be more items here, but you can see that the new material for this week is week 1 menu board. I can click on week 1 menu board right from the stream from the very beginning, and I can access these items from here. It's also going to show me the teacher's specific directions, which in this case are 1. Each day, please pick 1 to 3 boxes/activities from the menu board. Number 2, if the board asks you to show evidence, example, add a picture, or write sentences, etc., please upload your evidence within the classroom. Your teacher will customize their directions specifically to what they are asking your student to do and may require that your student work on different boxes or specific boxes within the menu board. So please make sure that you are looking at those instructions with your student so they have a clear understanding of what to look for. Now, under the attachments, this is where your student is going to see the menu boards. Now, from here, when I click on it, I have a couple of options. Because I have Chrome and Safari on my iPad, I have the ability to open in either one of those. Chances are your student will only have the option to open into Safari. So that's what we're going to look at right now by clicking on the open button next to Safari. So from here, we are going to see that the menu boards will pop open into a separate screen. So your student is going to be able to click on each of the content area boxes here so that they can see which activities or menu items that they are going to work on. They can simply tap on any one of these to see those items. So we're going to go ahead and give that a try. I clicked on the math and STEM in the bottom right hand corner, and it brought me to these 12 boxes. You will see that some of the links here are clickable within the boxes and others are just basic activities. For example, if I zoom in here by pinching on my screen using 2 fingers, box number 1 says give 3 examples of times when someone would use fractions in their daily life. Now, your teacher may have specifically asked that box number 1 for math and STEM be completed and their evidence is shown within Google Classroom. In order for your student to do that, they are going to want to click on the Done button, which will bring them back to their Google Classroom and that specific material notification that we found on the stream. The teacher will give them more specific directions as to how they want this to be done, but let me show you an example of how your student can do this. For this demonstration, we decided to just make a very generic menu board evidence assignment for this student. Again, your teacher is going to be specific on how they want your student to show their evidence. They could just say that they want their students to use a notebook and simply keep it at home. But for this instance, we are going to show you a couple of different ways that your student may be able to add in their evidence from Google Classroom specifically. If I come over to classwork, I now have an item at the top called menu board evidence. If I tap on that, it says, please submit any menu board items here. So if I come down to the bottom where there's an arrow, if I tap up, it's going to give me the option to add an attachment. So here are some options that your student may have to show their evidence. They could add in a photo. They could take a photo right from here. So if they did do their work on a notebook paper, they could simply click Use Camera, snap a photo of that evidence that they just did within their notebook and upload it to their evidence here in Google Classroom. They can also create a new document, a new slide, or a new Google Sheets from here as well. If they had decided to go into Google Slides or Google Sheets or Google Docs and they have already created their evidence, they can simply tap on the Drive button above and add their attachment from there. This will allow the teacher to see any of the information that they have provided within Google Classroom. If you have any other questions specific to Google Classroom and its platform, please reach out to remotehelp@rsu57.org.
Another new item. If your child is attending school without Wi-Fi connection, we are preparing a printed copy of learning menus for you. Your child's school will be in communication regarding how these will be distributed. We encourage you to visit the remote learning website for RSU57, which you see here, which is linked out from our homepage at www.rsu57.org. For tech support, please email remotehelp@rsu57.org. Please know that we are here to support your children, especially in these unprecedented times. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are here to help. Thank you, RSU57 Office of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment.